Our next guest, Joel Rubin, calls this a parting gift to Donald Trump from President Biden. He writes this, quote, Donald Trump needs to lean in on Syria diplomacy, not look away. Trump's first instinct last night was to say, we've got no interest in Syria. Nothing could be further from the truth. The stability of a keystone country in the heart of the Middle East, one whose refugees have reached all the way to the U.S., is worth pursuing. And joining us now, Democratic strategist, former Obama Deputy Assistant Secretary of State for Legislative Affairs, Joel Rubin. Joel, good morning to you.
Good morning,
nice to
Casey.
see you.
Thanks.
So these strikes, the Israelis striking some chemical weapons facilities, you saw the State Department spokesman there saying that locking down these capabilities is absolutely critical. Where does that effort stand right now?
Well, first of all, this is the moment right now where all the world needs to lean in. And this is exactly why your point, bring up the chemical weapons, shows that once a state fails and collapses, anything can happen. So we have the chemical weapons storages that people are aware of that Assad was holding on to. That will require international inspectors to get in to verify whether or not they are still there. But in the meantime, countries around the region are going to take their own independent action. So Israel is doing that. There's the counterterrorism mission where the Islamic State fighters in the east have been fighting our allies, the Kurds. Hundreds are imprisoned there. They can't be let out. There are a variety of neighbors who have their own independent concerns. So this really requires an international effort that's together, comprehensive, consolidated, and clear. Otherwise, we're going to continue to see security threats falling out and coming out of Syria.
So for Donald Trump, the president-elect, who, as you note in this piece, said right away, we want nothing to do with this, right? What would you say directly to him about, clearly he campaigned on and his supporters are very focused on the U.S. not being engaged in foreign wars.
Right.
Are there ways in which you see engagement with Syria as preventing that kind of a conflict?
Yeah, as much as he wants, we don't control the world, and you have to deal with the world as it comes up, and you can't turn your back on crises when they occur. And this is a perfect example of it. It's coming at the end of President Biden's term. It's going to be squarely in the lap of Donald Trump, and he has to decide how it's going to be settled. The United States is not invading Syria. Let's just be clear. This is not Iraq redux. This is not the United States going in to try to overthrow a regime. This is the United States and our allies looking at a country that has imploded and trying to figure out how to make sure the pieces don't scatter across all of us. And so his instinct to stay out of invading wars, understandable, but not an appropriate reaction to this. This is one that requires American diplomatic leadership, working with the neighbors. Iran is also involved in there on the ground. They're going to want to have a vote, and so we're going to have to figure out that point with our allies as well. So there's a lot of diplomacy that's required. Staying out, that's going to undermine American interests, undermine American national security, and harm the neighboring allies of the United States who are right now looking at Syria with deep concern.
All right, Joel Rubin for us this morning. Very grateful to have your perspective.
Thanks,
Thank
Casey.
you very much for being here.